You're listening to Empty Nexters, a podcast about finding joy, beauty, and wonder in the next season of life. What's your next? Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to the Empty Nexter podcast. I'm your host, Shelly, and I am so excited to have in the Empty Nexter studio with me my bestie from like forever. I'm so excited to have my best girlfriend, Sharlott, who her and I have been walking down this journey of life together since like 1986. So wow, long time, girl, right? It's been a long time. And fun fact, our daughters actually are both turning 30 this year, and they are best friends for life. It is so fun to watch our girls just carry on just that beautiful tradition of being best buddies. So I am excited because Sharlott's got quite a story to tell. She, the thing about Sharlott that I love is she's like, I don't know if this phrase is really even out there, but it probably is. She's like my spirit animal. She's like she goes out there and does all these amazing, adventurous things. She's got a zest for life. She's got if you get to know her, she's got like this really serious side of her, but boy, she can have a fun time as well. Of course, she's a school teacher, so she's probably kind of had to stay in that zone a lot, but she is now living her best next, and so she's going to fill us in on all the wonderful things God is doing. And the title of the podcast today is Adventure in My Next. So with that being said, let's dive in and say hello to Sharlott.
Hey, Shelly.
Hey, Shar.
Yeah, so just a little background. I'm married to Matthew and have been married 44 years.
Marriage goals right there.
Long time. Have 4 kids and 5 wonderful grandchildren, and just retired teaching.
Congratulations, by the way.
Yay! So I'm set free to have lots more adventures. And so I retired from teaching hundreds of children, literally, and they definitely qualify as some adventures.
How long did you have the joy of teaching hundreds of children?
I taught first grade 23 years, but altogether it was 34.5 years teaching.
Amazing. That is a testament in your dedication to the next generation. That's all I've got to say.
Tell you what, so they gave me adventures every day, and I still feel the Lord telling me, you're once a teacher, always a teacher, kind of like that. And He's our master teacher. And
That's right.
So He just continually speaks to me about that, and continue to teach at my church and the grandchildren. Just excited about following Jesus, headed out into the rest of my life.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. So coming out of that season, how long have you been retired?
I have been retired for 7 months.
7 months. So now up to this point, you've been a pretty adventurous person anyway, just as a part of who you are. That's your nature, correct? Mm-hmm. So when we think about the word adventure in our next, how does that tie into your season of life now?
Well, my first thought was I don't have to wait for spring break
or
Christmas break to go have fun.
Anytime, day or night.
Anytime.
Love it.
So yeah, we the path of adventure is wide and ready anytime. And so, it's just in this past 7 months, we've gone on, I think, 4 trips.
So cool.
2.5 month trip in the summer, go fishing, go hunting, drive across the country, go to I don't know how many national parks and all the things. So yeah, that was our blast off into the adventurous future.
I love it.
Mm-hmm. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about the path of life, adventure on my path. Is that okay?
Share away, my dear. Yes, ma'am. Let's hear it.
So as a follower of Jesus, He gives us ears to hear, right? And I've learned that if we're listening to His voice, that He will lead me down His path for me. Yes. So He kind of ties His relationship with me to the path, the adventure, the things coming next in my life, that they're not always fun, but they always seem to be adventurous. That word, and so a long time ago, just a quick testimony, Psalm 16:11, You will show me the path of life, and in your presence is fullness of joy. It's like that's always been my verse, but now it kind of has a whole new meaning because it's just applying it to what's happening next. And so
that. Keep saying that word next. I
next,
love it.
I choose whether to follow him down my path. I do choose to follow him down my path of life. And so, and at his right hand are pleasures forevermore. It's
right.
like fun, fun, fun.
That's
and,
right.
That's a big part right there. So that is my life verse, and it makes perfect sense that my next would continue down his path for me.
That's good.
And so joy and pleasure, I already mentioned that. It's fun, it's exhilarating, and in a minute I can share a couple examples of those.
I would love it, yes. Before you go, though, I would love to read, I'd love to talk about the definition of a word. So the word adventure, just real quick, is an exciting or remarkable experience.
There you go.
So you have been living as a teacher an exciting and remarkable experience every day, teaching the next generation. So now, as you shift 7 months retired, and you've already been on several amazing adventures, now you're walking into a new remarkable and exciting adventure. And so we are excited to hear about some of those things God's doing.
Yeah. And like I said, this summer when Matt and I were traveling that 2.5 months around the country, we had conversations and time with family and friends and hiking, fishing, climbing mountains, catching huge king salmon, extreme fun with the kids and the grandkids. I could go on and on about that. God showing me nuggets of wisdom to share with them because, we want our kids to pick up on the adventures we have in Jesus, and so they can do the same. They catch on to that through the Spirit of God. I just love that. They see, oh, I want to do what Nana's doing. We're having fun. Yeah, we're having fun. All right, let's go.
That's good,
and then they catch that. They catch that spirit. And then when you tie it to God's creation and everything, they kind of helps them put the pieces together so they have a view of God that they may not see from Sunday school.
I love it.
So it's so he reminds me. Jesus reminds me to be strong and courageous and more adventurous. Times are coming with him. That's a huge part of my next. He reminds me to walk by faith, not by sight, but it's always walk, walk, walk. He tells me to keep walking and don't stop. And he points this way or points that way. And it's like he speaks to me a little more. I have more time on my hands, So waking up in the morning, looking at what's ahead, somebody a call, I want to go do something, it's more yeses. I have more opportunities to say yes.
I love that. So you say that you have more opportunities to say yes. Do you, what gauges that yes or no? Like, do you have to kind of you don't have to look at your schedule anymore because really once you're retired, and I need clarity because I'm not quite there yet. So I try to not get too snarky with my retired friends that tell me how exhausted they are or what their schedules are so low. I'm going down that trail. I'm sorry. But when you get up in the morning and you have to me, an adventure in itself is just being able to say yes to whatever I want to do today. But God, yes to what you want me to do. So when you're thinking through your day, when your yes is different than when it was when you were working. Your yes is more geared towards what does God want me to do today, and what do I want to do in this adventure that's in front of me for the day?
Yeah, it's like overall the tendency is if I can do it, if I can say yes, I'm going to say yes. If it's building relationships with friends, putting nuggets into children, working on relationship, it's mostly around relationships.
Yeah, that's good.
It's not, I still get me time, but it's much more about relationships and building those and growing in Christ together and challenging each other.
Yeah, that's good. I like you said you still get me time, but you didn't say that was the priority. That to me is like so good to say this is about every day getting up and like, what do you want, Lord? What's the adventure for the day? Yeah, is it going to the spa and having a massage? Oh, yeah. But also the adventure can be going with a sister to coffee and sharing our faith with one another. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Because I used to listen to people talk about retirement. Like on the other side of things before I was retired, they'll try to they'll ask, what are you going to do in retirement? What are your plans? And they ask it constantly. And you're like, well, I don't know, but I'll figure it out,
I love it, yeah.
So, it's like.
That's the adventure.
That's the adventure of it, yeah. So.
I love that.
Outdoor exploration, seeing God in nature. That's a huge part of the adventures that I like. Always has been.
Yeah.
And grew up in northern Michigan around the Great Lakes and had 4 seasons with ice fishing and all the things. And so that's just, and then Alaska, living, married. Kevin was born up there, up in the wild north. And but one thing that happened this summer on my trip, this adventurous thing, was while I was in Monterey, California, visiting my daughter and family. I got up early and drove my truck down to Big Sur by myself along the coast and
Which to me is an adventure that she would go anywhere like that by herself, because I'm a scaredy cat and Charlotte's not. I love that about her.
So, it's like that's part of the adventure.
Yeah, I know, but it's still so scary.
So I did that, and I was going down this road, and, just right on the coastline, and there were these signs saying, road closed ahead, the road is out from the flooding, you can only go 2.5 more miles and turn around. So I just went a little bit further and
Sharlott,
a little bit further.
Okay. This is Sharlott. See, y'all understand when she's talking what I'm talking about. Me, I wouldn't have been on the road anyway because I've been afraid to go by myself. And if I even saw a sign that said road closed 2 miles, we're like, okay, I'm out of here. We're turning around now. Does this one do that? No, she's like, I think I'm going to go just a little bit further. That's an adventurous woman.
True. We've been on some adventures together.
Well, we'll go down. We'll talk about those later.
So, anyway, it was super foggy, but it was so beautiful, and lush green mountain, the crashing surf. It's like, oh wow, this is awesome, and the splendor. But anyway, so then the road was blocked, so I pulled over. There's a little dirt path, so I'm in a truck, so I can pull over, not get too close to the edge, but find a little. And so I saw this. I looked over, and there's this. Get out of the truck. There's a path going right down through the grasses, about knee high, going right down toward the surf, and I see a sign. There may be bear, but I didn't see any bear, so I kept walking, and there's all these things. And then the Lord showed me the way down this path. I just thought it was so cool. I was looking for a path, and there it was. And then I start looking down and walking toward the cliff, but then there's these gorgeous purple delicate flowers, and these in the background, these huge crashing waves. It's just like I was out in the world by myself, and God was just showing me all these things. He spoke to me and reminded me that he cares for all his creation, even these little tiny flowers I was looking at. And it was majestic, but then it had the details. And so he was showing me things about his character for us, and I just love that. That's right there where it's at.
It's beautiful.
That's what I love. And
Can I go back to when you said you asked the Lord to show you a path? Mm-hmm. He showed you the path. What did you do to get to that path? You had to pause and stop?
I just started walking down that path.
Okay, you started walking down that path, but had you not when you prayed and asked God to show you the path, and then you saw it, you had to be courageous enough to go down that path and see what God wanted to show you. Sometimes I think when we walk on our journey, we don't stop long enough to let God show us, hey, there's a path here, take it.
It was kind of like that because when I went a little further, I thought, oh, this is the best spot. I took pictures. I just was in awe. But then I kind of looked over and the path kept going. I'm like, okay, here we go. We're going to go a little bit further. And then I was up under this tree, and then it kind of ended right on the edge of the cliff. And I thought, this would be a good place probably to turn around at this point because no one knows I'm here.
Nobody probably didn't have cell service, I'm sure.
I took gorgeous photos. But no cell service probably.
But what a beautiful way for God to just remind you of the adventure that you're on, and that when you go follow him, he takes you down these little side streets that you may not have had you not been adventurous, and almost crazy, but I won't say that part, to go a
Shelly.
little further,
Hey,
you would have missed out on that. That's what I'm saying is sometimes we have to go a little further than fear. Sometimes fear stops
Absolutely.
us right there. And we go, that's how I've always lived my life. I'm the total polar opposite of Sharlott. We went on my big adventure this past August. Our daughters and I went ziplining. That was one of my bucket lists. I knew once I said it to her, Miss Adventure Queen, we would see it through. And that was the most fearful, exhilarating, amazing time of my life.
It was.
But
It was
I think, like we
amazing.
said on the podcast, do it afraid.
But you did it. You did it. We all did it.
We all did it. Y'all weren't as afraid as I was, though.
I mean, maybe not, but it was.
You were faking it really good. I was the one crying the whole way down that first line.
Gosh. Oh, but we did it. We
Yeah.
did it. Yeah. So going eyes wide open,
Yes.
saying yes. And what it made me also think of is just when we wait and pause about those next steps that you've had it happen when you're sharing with a woman anyone really, but one of your best friends. Same thing I've found with our children, children that he has in our lives, that when I started looking for more things that God might, just kind of being a seeker, what does God have for me next? So then he has the adventure, but then he's got these nuggets of wisdom and encouragement that he just drops in. I mean, I've seen it so many times just since I've been on this new part of my adventure, my next, and seeing children just like sponges. And I've taught for years, but I mean, nobody but God could drop some of the things that actually connects with my grandkids and the kids that minister to at church. It's like just taking that extra weight and then just be bold and assured that this is God speaking. This is not me. And then he just gives it. It's just been amazing. And it really is an adventure in my next.
I love that. And you said the phrase "eyes wide open." That sticks out to me because I think sometimes as we get to the season of life that we're in, and y'all, we're flipping the script. I say that all the time. We're not looking at this season in a negative light anymore. We're looking at that season, like Sharlott just said, with our eyes wide open. And we want you guys to come with us because when you have your eyes wide open, not closed a little bit or not closed all the way, wide open, because then you can see all the beauty and the wonder that God has in our next.
Yeah.
The adventure, whether it's out on the road, going on those cliffs, or with our grandkids and looking at it like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have just one more thing I wanted to share.
Yes, ma'am.
So God just plopped this right in to my lap as I was praying about this time with Shelly. It's such a treat to be here. The scripture that says, "Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the nations, and I will be exalted in the earth." And so he says there's so much power in the stillness of knowing God as you stand serene in the world he created. The busyness of your life will always be there, but never forget to take the moments you can to stop and know your God. In those moments, you will find refreshment and strength to take on whatever will come next.
I love that.
It just thrills me to know that this doesn't stop. I mean, as long as we're on this earth, having our next, he's just so awe-inspiring. I mean, he just speaks to us, and you never know what he's going to say next. But if we have our eyes open, our ears open, and are willing, he's got so much to say and do through us. I'm blessed. I'm humbled that he does that for us. Yeah.
Well, as we kind of wind down the podcast, so say that you're talking to a really scared bestie, like adventure. I don't know what that word means, but I'm scared of it. So just speaking to the audience, like we've got women in every season. We've got 30 somethings all the way up to 80 something. And how do we encourage them to live their next adventure? Like, what is adventure in their next in your mind? Because you're coming at it from a very adventurous mindset. How would you encourage them to follow that path?
I would say pray, but ask the Lord to show you what that thing is that you've always wanted to do, but you were afraid to do it. Just get out there and in some form or fashion, take a step. So if it's one day you want to climb a mountain, go out and climb a hill with your best buddy so you have someone with you. Or just whatever you've always wanted to do, just take a step and take someone with you. Do it with a buddy.
I love that. Like we did the Peachtree Road Race twice.
Yes, we did.
As buddies. We were, and that was a huge thing for us. I never thought, I'm not a runner, y'all. I told y'all in another podcast that my daughter is the runner in the family and she looks like a gazelle. So I'm thinking, I look like it's not, you don't even want to see it. But I have a friend who's adventurous and says, let's do it. And so sometimes you've got to say you do want to do something, maybe not as dramatic as a hill or a mountain at first or zip lining at first, but you find, like Sharlott said, what works best for you and who you are. And you know what? Sometimes it's taking that step with your eyes wide open. Then you realize, I love this. Like this is bringing life to me. And you never knew it because you weren't courageous enough to step over your fear. And so that's why Sharlott is here and why I wanted her to share the adventure in her next, because she is living her best next right now. Not only am I slightly jealous that she's retired, but not, my day's coming and I will live that retired life soon enough. God's got that all in his plan. But, as we close out the podcast today, Sharlott, my heart is overwhelmed with joy that you would come on here and share just some of your story. I know we could go much longer, but really the goal is to kind of give the audience, the podcast listeners, just a snapshot of what it's like for this beautiful woman of God, retired, gave her, 30 plus years to these children of that adventure. And yet she has not let that stop her. She could have very easily said, well, that adventure's over. I'm going to sit and just be quiet in my house and just live whatever. She chose not to. She has decided to step over how she may feel, whatever, and live wide open. So sometimes we have to do that ourselves. Sometimes we have to make a decision to be like, you know what? I've got a lot to offer. Charlotte's got a lot to offer the world. You, on the other side of this microphone, the people listening to us, you have a lot to offer. What is it you're holding back from sharing with someone else because you might be a wee bit afraid? An adventure doesn't have to be out in the nature. It could be leading a Bible study. It could be, like Sharlott said, speaking into the lives of your grandkids, having time with another sister and making that an adventure. So adventure needs to look at any way it needs to for who you are. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. So we just appreciate you being here, and the way she ended that God is in the next. So we are grateful that you joined us today, and we hope that today, as we even prayed before we started the podcast, that God would speak to your heart and that you would realize that this journey is an adventure. Stephen Curtis Chapman wrote a song way back in the day called The Great Adventure, and I'm like, once I said yes to Jesus, I've been on the great adventure. We've been on that path.
Yes.
But now that we're in the season of life we're in, man, the adventure, it's unlimited. It's only limited to what we let fear take over and keep us from doing.
Never too late.
It's never too late. And eyes wide open, right?
Eyes wide open.
All right. So as we end the podcast today, we encourage you to go out, live your next with joy and adventure. Have a great one. Thanks, Sharlott.
Great being here.